Number 5. New World 2013. Ya-sung is an undercover police officer, who has ascended the ranks of the crime syndicate to which he was assigned, to the point of becoming the right hand of the number 2 in the hierarchy, named Young Chung. However, when the number 1 is killed, the syndicate engulfs in a power struggle for the top position, between Young Chung and Jung-gu, which eventually escalates into war. Ya-sung, who was to retire soon, must now keep acting in his role, since his operator named Kang Hyung-chul is set on influencing the leader's selection, putting a puppet of his in the top of the syndicate. The fact brings tension between the two. Park Hoon-young directs an agonizing crime thriller, which contains the usual violence, anti-heroes, impressive action sequences, and stylish gangsters in their suits, along with the much-loved plot twists. However, the film's main point of excellence is its characters, with each of the main protagonists performing their respective roles magnificently. In that aspect, Lee Young-jae plays the perpetually anxious Ya-sung, who has to maintain his cool composure when he is in the company of Young Chung, acted with brio and overall artfulness by Hwang Young-minutes, in both his calm moments and his outbursts. Choi Minutes-sik is great as always in the role of a cop that is not so much different from the people he is after. Number 4. National Security 2012. National Security is a unique entry in the field, because apart from the thriller element, it could only be described as socio-political exploitation, since for the most part it consists of scenes of a man being tortured. The script is based on the memoir by Kim Jun-tae, a democracy activist who was kidnapped and tortured by national police for 22 days, and who later on became a minister of the government. It describes the facts before, but mainly during these 22 days when he was tortured in the Korean Central Intelligence Agency, initially by police officers and later by a head interrogator nicknamed the Undertaker. Chung Ji-young directs a cruel film, which takes place almost exclusively in a claustrophobic environment that consists of a cell and a torture room. He pulls no punches in the depiction of the various tortures, thus resulting in a truly grotesque spectacle. Furthermore, he focuses on the psychosynthesis of the torturers, in a rare tactic for characters like that. The film is largely based on the performance by Park Won-sang, who was magnificent in the role of a man who is prosecuted by the whole system, due to his ideology. Lee Jung-young is also impressive as the cruel and relentless Undertaker, with his cold-blooded composure and the joy he seems to derive from the tortures he submits the prisoners. Number 3. Sympathy for Lady Vengeance 2005. The third part of the Revenge trilogy revolves around Jung-ya, a woman found guilty for the kidnap and murder of a child, who has waited patiently in prison for 13 years in order to avenge those responsible for her unjust conviction. Park Chan-wook focused on a female character this time, and created a unique amalgam of black humor, violence, and liberating humanism, chiefly depicted in the final sequence of collective revenge. His extensive use of flashbacks, which chiefly appear in the first part, is artful once more, as is the way he presents the bloodthirsty demands of Jung-ya in the second part. Lee Young-ae is great as the protagonist, as is Choi Minutes-sik, who, this time, portrays the victim. Number 2. A Dirty Carnival 2006. By Eun-do is a low-level gangster who tries to take care of his few subordinates and his sick mother and smaller siblings. His financial situation is awful, with his family being on the threshold of eviction and his direct superior, named Sang-yeol, not caring for his problems. Having no other choice, he bypasses him and goes directly to the boss of the gang named Hwang, an act that leaves him with a mission to get rid of the district attorney Park, who is on the hunt for his boss. As his fate seems to change for the better, an old friend named Minutes-ho resurfaces, who has become a director, and in his wish to shoot a gangster film, he wants information from actual professionals. This meeting leads to a second one, with an old flirt of Eun-do named Hyun-ju. Yoo-ha directs and vends a film seemingly in the usual motif of the rise and fall of a criminal anti-hero inside a gang. However, He enriches it with plenty of drama, and he focuses, in essence, on the repercussions of violence and criminal life in the psychosynthesis of the main character, and the way these two aspects keep him from taking care of his family and living a normal life. Additionally, he avoids creating a character who only seeks out revenge and creating chaos in his path, but instead one who simply tries to improve his life, initially for financial reasons rather than for authority, and lastly for survival. The film takes a realistic approach toward the crime world, presenting its members with all of their flaws, and at the same time, it satirizes the largely failed effort of the film industry to portray the essence of life in organized crime. Jo In-sung is magnificent as Byung-do, particularly in the scenes where he attacks his opponents, where he appears truly terrifying. In the more sentimental scenes, his appearance helps him the most to portray his character's vulnerability. However, his best moment comes when he describes to Min-ho the sentiment of stabbing someone, in a cruelly realistic scene. Number 1. Nameless Gangster, Rules of the Time 2012. The film is set in the Korean port city of Busan during the reign of organized crime in the 80s and the subsequent declaration of war toward it in the 90s by President Roh Tae-woo. Choi Ik-hyun is a corrupted Busan customs officer, who is not averse to taking bribes or pilfering goods. Eventually he discovers a shipment of crystal meth, which leads him to Kingpin Choi Hyung-bi, who is also a member of the same Choi family clan. Due to that tie and their common interest, the two of them form a peculiar alliance, since they are radically opposite characters, both in appearance and character. Yoon Jong-bin presents a highly realistic and entertaining depiction of the crime world of the aforementioned decades, and creates a truly masterful crime thriller with constant plots, intrigues, betrayals, and violence. He bases much of the film upon the differences of the two main characters, with Choi Ik-hyun being annoying, filled with pettiness and ridiculous looking, and Choi Hyung-bi being the exact opposite, and their complex relationship that becomes even worse during the prosecutions in the 90s. Both of the characters, though, are actually evil and prone to walk over dead bodies in order to accomplish their goals. Choi Min-sik is magnificent as Choi Hyung-bi, capturing both the comical and the serious side of his character, and Ha Young-woo as Choi Hyung-bi is quite persuasive, to say the least.